Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back students to the online classes of Iqra Fast by Secondary School, a project of Iqra Education System. Dear students, in the last video we learned about narration part 1, in which I told you the definition of narration, what is indirect narration and what is direct narration. And then I told you about the 5 steps to indirect narration. You can look at the board in front of you. We have 5 steps to indirect narration. If you want to change a direct sentence into an indirect sentence, you have to go through these 5 steps to make an indirect narrative sentence. As I told you, and I am recapitulating you, a sentence of direct narration has 2 parts. The first part is called reporting speech, the second part is called reported speech. In order to make this direct sentence into indirect sentence, we have to make 5 changes in 5 different steps. Step number 1, change of verb. Step number 2, change of commas. Step number 3, change of pronouns. Step number 4, change of tense. And step number 5, change of adverb. We studied step number 1 and step number 2 in the last video. I told you how to change verb and how to change commas. If you remember, I told you that change number 1 and change number 2, these 2 changes depend upon the type of sentence or the kind of sentence given in reported speech. In this speech, inside the inverted commas, if this reported speech is declarative sentence, you change said to into told and commas into that. If this reported speech is an interrogative sentence, you change said to into asked and you change commas into either if or WH word. If a sentence in reported speech is an imperative sentence, you change said to into requested or ordered and you change commas into to. And if the reported speech is an exclamatory sentence, you change said to into exclaimed with and commas into that. This was all about change number 1 and change number 2, which means step number 1 and step number 2. In this video, I am going to explain you step number 3, step number 4 and step number 5. So first we will go through step number 3, change of pronouns. Step number 3, change of pronouns. In change of pronouns, we use SON technique. S-O-N. This is an acronym of subject, object, no change. How we apply this SON technique on change of pronouns, I am going to further explain you. Before we go on to understanding SON technique for step number 3, change of pronouns, I want to tell you something about pronouns more in detail. We have 7 personal pronouns: I, we, you, they, he, she and it. These 7 personal pronouns are divided into 3 persons. You can look at your board. In first person pronouns, we include I and we. I as subject, me as object, we as subject and us as object. And in second person pronouns, we include you. You as subject and you as object. While in third person pronouns, we include they as subject, them as an object, he as subject, him as an object, she as subject, her as an object, and it as subject and object both. So you need to understand and remember that in first person pronouns, I and we are included, including their objects, me and us. In second person pronouns, you is included, and in third person pronouns, they, he, she and it along with their object pronouns are included. So now you need to remember this, because further ahead in explanation I am going to repeat these terminologies of first person pronouns, second person pronouns and third person pronouns. So you should remember what I mean by first person pronouns, by second person pronouns, and what I mean by third person pronouns. Look at this again and focus on it. In first person pronouns, we include I and we with their subject pronoun and object pronoun. I as subject, we as an object. We as subject, us an object. And in second person pronouns, we include you. And in third person pronouns, we use they, he, she and it. So these are three different pronouns. I hope you can understand this easily now. Now I am going to explain you that when we have first person pronouns in the sentence, what changes we make, and when we have second person pronoun, what changes we make, and when we have third person pronouns, what changes we make. Now I am going to apply this technique on a narrative sentence. I have made a figure on the board here. This is S for subject, O for object, and N for no change. I have exemplified you with three different sentences. For example, if in the reported speech we have first person pronouns, we change these first person pronouns from the subject of the reporting speech. I am repeating it. If in the reported speech, as you know, I told you in the starting that we have 5 total changes in narration. The first 2 changes belong to reporting speech and the last 3 changes belong to reported speech. So the change of pronoun, which is step number 3, this step or this change belongs to reported speech, which means that we have to make changes in reported speech inside the inverted commas. Okay? So if you have any pronoun here inside the inverted commas, so you will see that if there is first person pronoun either in subject case or in object case. If there is first person pronoun here inside the inverted commas, you change this first person pronoun from the subject of the reporting speech. And if you have second person pronoun inside the inverted commas, you change the second person pronoun from the object of reporting speech. You see, these pronouns are inside the inverted commas and these are reporting speeches. Reporting speech here and reporting speech here. If you have second person pronoun in reported speech, you will change second person from the object of reporting speech. And if you have third person pronoun inside the inverted commas in reported speech, you make no change. There is no change in third person pronoun. I am repeating this whole process again. If you have first person pronoun in reported speech, you will change this first person from the subject of the reporting speech. You see? And if you have second person pronouns here inside the inverted commas in reported speech, you change second person pronoun from the object of reporting speech. And in the case of third person pronouns, you do no changes. I will now explain you with the help of example. I have written example number 1, first person pronouns. He said to me, I am fine. Inside the inverted commas, this is reported speech. And in this reported speech, how many pronouns are given? Yes, one pronoun only, and that is I at the subject place. So this I, we have to change according to the sun technique. So what we see here, for first person pronoun, we change the first person pronoun from the subject of reporting speech. So here, this is the first person pronoun and this is the subject of the reporting speech. So we change I from he, and in indirect sentence, this he comes here. He told me that he was fine. He was fine. So first person pronoun is changed from the subject of the reporting speech. I will give you another example. This is example number 2 for second person pronouns. He said to me, you are fine. As you remember, we make changes in indirect speech in the reported speech. This pronoun is given here inside the inverted commas. How many pronouns are there? Only one, and that is you. And you is the second person. So when we have second person pronouns, we change second person pronoun from the object of the reporting speech. So you is a pronoun we have to change, and this is the reporting speech. He said to me, what is the object in reporting speech? He said to me, yes, me is the object here. So we change you from me. When this me comes here at the subject position, because you is in the subject position. So when we bring me in the subject position, it becomes I. And the sentence becomes, he told me that I was fine. He said to me, you are fine. So he is using you for me. And now when the narrator is narrating it, he told me that I was fine. So this you has been replaced by me in the subject position as I. Now I will give you example number 3. I have written third example on the board for third person pronouns. He said to me, she is fine. This speech inside the inverted commas is called reported speech. We have to make change of pronoun in the reported speech. So in that reported speech, she is fine. How many pronouns do we have? Yes, one pronoun, and that is she. So we are changing she as per the rule of SERT technique. When we see on SERT technique, so we find that for third person pronouns we make no changes. So she will come as it is without any change. He said to me, she is fine. He told me that she was fine. You people can do some more practice through different sentences using first person pronoun in reported speech, and second person pronouns in reported speech, and third person pronouns in reported speech. And you can keep this image before you, the image of SERT technique, that when you have first person pronouns in reported speech, you will make changes from the subject of the reporting verb. And if you have second person pronouns, you make changes from the object of reporting speech. And if you have third person, then you make no changes. Now we will move on to step number 4, which is change of tense. This is step number 4, change of tense. How we change the tense when we are converting a direct narrative sentence into an indirect narrative sentence. There are 2 columns in front of you on the board, one for direct narration and one for indirect narration. If you have present simple, before going ahead, I would like to remind you, we are making this change of tense in the reported speech, in the second part of the direct sentence. You remember? I will show you for a while. Here you can see, these are the 5 steps we have to go through in order to convert a direct narrative sentence into an indirect narrative sentence. So step number 4, change of tense. Now you remember, this step number 4 belongs to reported speech, which means this speech, reported speech. If the tense here is in present simple, present continuous, present perfect, or any other tense, so when we are converting this sentence into an indirect narrative sentence, so what changes we will make onto the tense or the verb of that sentence? Let's get back to the previous image, the chart what I have drawn on the board. Here you are. So if you have present simple in reported speech, so in order to convert the sentence into indirect, you will convert this present simple into past simple. If you have present continuous in reported speech, you will convert it into past continuous. If you have present perfect in direct narration, So in indirect narration, you will change this present perfect into past perfect. Same as if you have present perfect continuous, you will carry it to past perfect continuous. So it's very simple. For the present tenses, what you do, present simple goes to past simple, present continuous goes to past continuous, present perfect goes to past perfect, present perfect continuous goes to past perfect continuous. Now let's take a look at the past tenses. Past simple goes to past perfect and past continuous goes to past perfect continuous. How easy it is. Present simple into past simple, present continuous into past continuous, present perfect into past perfect, present perfect continuous into past perfect continuous. And past simple into past perfect, past continuous into past perfect continuous. While the remaining two tenses, past perfect and past perfect continuous, we make no change, we use them as they are. Past perfect is used as it is and past perfect continuous is also used as it is. No change. Now let's take a look at the future tenses. In short, I have written here, if we have will, which means future simple in direct narration. So when you are taking this sentence into indirect narration, you change will into would. If you have will be, you make it would be. If you have will have, you make it would have. If you have will have be, you make it would have been. So future simple will becomes would, future continuous will be becomes would be, future perfect will have becomes would have, and future perfect continuous will have been becomes would have been. We make no changes in the rest of the part of auxiliary verbs of future. We only make changes in the will. Will becomes would, be that it is alone or it is with be, with have or with have been. So if there is will, it will be would. Will be, would be, will have, would have been, would have been. This is the chart which you have to learn by heart, because when you are attempting to convert a direct sentence into an indirect sentence, you need to remember which tense you have to use when you are bringing a sentence from direct narrative sentence to an indirect narrative sentence. Now we will move on to the last step, that is step number 5. This is step number 5, change of adverb. And my brothers, I'll tell you that we make changes in the adverb of time and adverb of place. And both adverbs are written before you on the board. Adverb of time first. If you have today in the direct sentence, you change that today into that day. If you have tomorrow, you change tomorrow into the next day or the day after. If you have yesterday, then you change yesterday into the previous day or the day before. If you have now, you use then. Same as for adverbs of place, we have two adverbs of place here. Here becomes there and there remains there, no change in there. I hope you have understood the change of adverb also. You can keep this image before you when you are doing some practice of direct and indirect sentences. I'll take you back to the first lecture and the first image where we have all the 5 steps written before us. Here you are. 5 steps to indirect narration. We have studied all the 5 steps in detail. I've told you how to change the verb, how to change commas, how to change pronouns, how to change tense and adverb of time and place. These 5 steps are in sequence. I will tell you how. The first change is change of verb. You see, in this sentence of direct, the first change you have to make is verb, the second change commas, third change pronouns, fourth change tense, and fifth and the last change adverb. So if you start from step number 1, you will first change verb and then commas, then pronoun, then tense and then adverb. So by going through all these 5 steps one by one, you can convert a direct sentence into an indirect sentence. I hope you have understood the narration, direct narration and indirect narration. but only listening to the explanation and instruction through the video or through the lecture is not enough. Until or unless you do some practice, you will not be able to have good command over narration. And for that, in the end of this video, I am giving you a couple of assignments. You need to do them in your register and submit your registers as scheduled. I will check these registers. I will check if you have not made any mistake, and I will give my feedback to you, and you can get to know further about it through my feedback. So that's all for now. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.